So as people of faith, we're called to create the world we know is possible, and that's a livable future where everyone's needs are fully and fairly met.
The real challenges that we have at this point in the 21st century is that none of the significant problems that we have can we solve in isolation from one another.
Racial inequities and climate change are issues that are part of a bigger system, and Just Community Solar is an opportunity to address those issues.
Community solar gardens are large solar arrays. These can be on rooftops, large rooftops, or on open fields. So it's lower costs overall than putting on an individual home. And people in the community can subscribe to get their power from that array, and they get a credit on their Xcel energy bill. So that they're reducing their energy costs through solar.
It doesn't change anything about the way that you're going to receive your energy. Your light switch is just going to work just the same.
And that means that people who don't own property, people whose roofs aren't good for solar, people who don't have the money to afford solar up front can all get their energy from the sun.
This is new in Minnesota because of the legislation that was passed in 2013 and 2014.
Community solar gardens are a great opportunity, but there are some major barriers that prevent particularly low-income people and people with low credit scores from participating.
The way it's looking, access to solar garden shares might be targeted to those who already have the advantages. In the future, it will be people in higher income brackets then who will save on energy costs, and those who are already struggling are going to see higher bills. We all know that that doesn't sound right.
From our faith perspective, it's important to us that as this new boom in solar comes to Minnesota, it's not widening the racial and economic gaps that we are already working so hard to address.
The Just Community Solar Coalition is a group of
Interfaith communities,
Solar developers,
community organizations,
local governments,
people of faith,
who have all come together to address climate change and green economic development.
that believe in this being a just economy within the solar realm.
Part of our vision and mission is the spreading of solar across our cityscape in a just and sustainable way.
We see community solar gardens as a really important way to live out that calling.
I'm extremely excited about the Shiloh project because it's in North Minneapolis where I live as a resident. Solar is typically designated for those that can afford it, and it's one of those things that not everybody has access to. So the Shiloh project actually is a complete contrast to that. Within one of the areas of Minneapolis that does not necessarily have that sizable income or credit score, what Shiloh project does is it creates the opportunity for that entryway and pathway, and it's right there within the community, which is huge.
Part of our paradigm with this solar energy project is to produce jobs locally.
My role is as workforce development, creating the ability for people to get the necessary job skills training and then be able to work on a project, not just a Shiloh project, but a lot of other projects going forward that this Just Community Solar group is actually coordinating. It creates the opportunity for not just straightening out the environmental issues that we have as a country and a world, but also create the pathways from poverty to prosperity for people of color and low-income residents.
So the Just Community Solar Coalition decided to come up with a solar value statement so that when we start to develop these projects, the first questions we ask are, is this accessible to everyone? Is this creating jobs in our community? Is this protecting our natural systems? And is this telling a new story about what energy is and how it can be created?
My biggest hope is that we could become a model for all communities. And so when we talk about our neighbor and who is a neighbor to us, we're talking about not only will all people in our community eventually have access to clean and affordable energy, but that every layer of that process offers the utmost opportunity.
If we do this right the first time, community solar has the ability to address the economic disparities, climate change, and the racial inequities all at once.
We hope that in your community, in your context, when opportunities arise, you'll take the time to think, how can I make sure that this opportunity builds a just and livable future where everyone's needs are fully and fairly met?
Our faith says this is possible. We can do this because we are the right people at the right time. So let's take the next step and the next step and the next step